My ex-husband wants to terminate paternal rights. Am I the asshole if I let him? Just like the title has said, but the road to how we've gotten here has been long and rough, especially for my daughter. I, 34F, had a daughter, 7F, with my ex-husband, 34M. My daughter is an amazing, artistic, bright little girl, but me and my ex-husband divorced when she was 3 years old. He was incredibly absent, working long hours, and when he did come home at night he would go to the garage and work some more. He did spend some time with her, like helping me put her to bed, and when I had my C-section with her he was incredibly helpful with taking care of her at night, and even slept out in the living room with me for some time because our mattress was on the ground and I couldn't get up off the floor after the C-section. But when she started getting into the toddler years he got distant and spent less and less time with her and me. It eventually led to us getting divorced. There was a little more to it, but yeah. The divorce itself was over very quickly and pretty amicably. I stayed in our home until the divorce was close to being over and he stayed in a separate room. I was the one to move out of the house because I had initially been a stay-at-home and went back to work when the divorce started, so I couldn't get approved for a mortgage since my work history wasn't long enough. He agreed to pay some alimony for a few months and child support. This was a lot that he didn't have to do and I was very grateful. At the time of our divorce in 2020, I had custody of our daughter from Sunday night to Friday night, and he would take her every weekend. She was in pre-K at this time. She had school events, back-to-school night he didn't go to, the pumpkin patch he went to, parent-teacher conferences he didn't go to, pre-K graduation he didn't go to. I offered a lot of extra time, like when she had school off or there were holidays I knew that he didn't have to go to work that day. He rarely ever took me up on the offer for more visitation. When she started kindergarten she went to a 4-day-a-week school that we both agreed on. My boyfriend kids went there and it was closer to my ex-husband's house. He asked for more time. By then he had been with his girlfriend for a while. This is important later. We had both been seeing our SOs for a little over a year. He asked for his visitation to change for more time, my custody being from Sunday night, Thursday night, and his time was from Thursday night to Sunday night. I agreed and was happy that he was actually showing interest in her. But again, back to school night didn't show up, parent-teacher conferences didn't show up, they had a field trip, didn't sign up to go, he never went to the school for their multiple little art shows or anything. I did tell him. I told him every time I found out about an activity as soon as I found out, then again a week before and again the day before. I did this every single time. He never showed. He did show up to her kindergarten graduation by my surprise. Almost every week when I would go to drop her off at his house she would start crying and beg me not to go over there. But when I asked her why she didn't want to go over there, she just said that she didn't want to be around the girlfriend. I ended up telling my ex that he needed to be there when I dropped her off. It got a little better for a while. Custody stayed like this for another year, although the school changed to one closer to me, to the same school that his girlfriend's son went to. This whole time my daughter always told me that she didn't like her dad's girlfriend or her son, that she was mean and just the normal things you'd expect. I told her that she was young and being a step-parent was extremely difficult, more so than being a biological parent, and she should be forgiving. That I was okay if she liked her. I wanted her to because that means that she is happy and that is all I wanted for her. I also had to have the hard talk with her about her father and I not getting back together, but this was all normal that I expected from her. When I was concerned I would bring it up with her father and we would typically have a civilized conversation about it. Then spring 2023 he started pressing for 50-50 custody. And he was making more and more complaints about having to pay child support. I balked at the 50-50 because at this point, because he wasn't showing up to any of her events or extracurriculars, I had her in swim lessons and gymnastics that I was paying for myself. And I knew that he was working long hours and commuting and I didn't want to give up more of my time just to have her sitting with his girlfriend. I wanted to make sure that he was actually going to be serious about having her more and spend the time with her. He insisted that he was working from home and that she would be with him, that he would be spending the time with her. I agreed to doing the 50-50 and I even agreed to call child support services and stop the child support payments if we were going to be doing the 50-50ths. That was only fair. But on the weeks that she was going to be going to her father's she would start dreading it. By Wednesday she would be asking what day it was, when she had to go to her father's, and even had a meltdown in class one day, where I ended up having to send messages to her teacher to start getting her warmed up to go to her dad's on the days he would pick her up. I pressed to get her into a counselor again. I had put her in counseling to help her ease the transition during the divorce. I got pushback from it. I got him to agree and she started seeing a counselor again. She was adamant about how she did not like being at her dad's. She started lying and misbehaving. She was just not acting like herself. I could tell that something was up, but I had no proof. After a few months of her doing 50-50, her father decided that she was too much to handle, and changed custody again to him, taking her every other weekend. Eventually, this all came to a head when one weekend her father's girlfriend dropped her off, said that she had started her period. She is 7 at this time. She had been giving herself a bloody nose and wiping the blood in her underwear. The girlfriend said that when she was pressed, she confessed to lying, because when her older sister had started theirs, they got a day off and a special treat, and she just wanted the attention. At that point, they had pressured her as to why she would do that and implied that she had been sexually assaulted. I couldn't believe that. They had said that my daughter had said that someone had been sexually abusing her. She went up to her room and started to rip her room apart. I panicked. I took her down to the local ER and told them everything. She ended up being an inpatient at the pediatric psych unit for a whole week. No, the sexual assault was not true, they checked. While she was there, her father got incredibly upset. I told him every time that I had gotten updates from the hospital. I even gave him my login to see the profile himself. There was a lot that came out of that. We found out that she was struggling with depression. That for every single thing the kids did, they got spanked, forgot to turn a light off, spanked, forgot to flush the toilet, spanked, get out of bed at night, spanked, didn't finish your meal, spanked. I mean it when I say for every single thing. On top of that, my ex-husband's girlfriend was telling my daughter that it would be so much easier without her being here, as in being alive. My ex-husband started getting very aggressive when he started reading the nursing notes, and everything was about his house. Again, he never called her. He showed up to the hospital one day, spent 5 minutes with her, then left. He got aggressive with the staff and demanded that he be involved. Again, I had been sending him all the notes, giving him every updates, gave him access to my medical portal online so he could keep up on his own. And when she was getting released, they told him when the patient safety meeting was, he refused to come. Unfortunately, they couldn't do much for her because he refused to let them try any kind of medication, so she had some counseling session and some group sessions. After she was released from the hospital, he became more distant, maintaining his request to see her every other weekend, never overnight. He would come pick her up for an hour or two, then bring her back. This obviously upset her because he kept telling her everything was she fault, that he couldn't have her at his house because of the way that she was acting. Last month, during his visit, she came home in tears. I asked her what was going on and if her visit did not go well. She said that her father told her that he couldn't be around her anymore, that he was moving out of state, and he would call her. This was news to me, as he was supposed to tell me when and if he moved farther than 50 miles away. Even just a heads up would have been nice, because then I could have started that conversation with her. I did message him and ask what was going on, but all I got was confirmation that he was moving. He would not tell me where to or when. I was done with everything at that point and went to the courthouse for modification of visitation papers. I sent him a message saying since he was leaving, I expected him to sign them and not give me grief about it. I requested full legal and physical custody and requested child support to be paid again. Of course, once he saw the paperwork, it was the child support he didn't agree with. He refused to sign. He instead stated that he wanted to terminate his parental rights. I was blown away. He also said that he had already left. I looked up his home. It was up for sale. It was completely empty. When I tried to serve him papers for court, he's nowhere to be found. And he won't tell me where he went. I'm torn about this. I really want to be vindictive and demand the full legal and physical, demand child support and fight for this. The other half of me is just exhausted. He hasn't paid child support in over a year anyways, and I just want him to go away, so my daughter can heal, so she's not crying herself to sleep every night anymore, so she can move on and learn to cope with this abandonment. She has me, her stepfather, and her 3 sisters. Would I be the asshole if I just let him petition for the termination of rights? I just want this over so we can move on.